right. Since we don't have anyone shooting for us, we don't have any time to waste. Heidi, we gotta get right into it.
Well, then let's not waste any
right
time.
into it, all right?
Let's not waste a moment.
For all those who don't know, welcome back to Devil's Advocate. This is the show where we sit down and have a debate, and one of us plays the Devil's Advocate. Usually I play the Devil's Advocate, because usually I'm the one who's able to see both sides of an issue. So
no, I think it's you who just tends to fall on the, we'll say, the questionable side of an issue, and it seems to be something that you're comfortable with.
I'm very comfortable with controversy. I'm very comfortable with being on the other side of the line. I feel like that's how you got to do it. You got to know how the other side lives. You got to understand where they're coming from. And speaking of which, I already came with my topic. I don't know if you picked the topic yet, or if you have a topic in mind. I usually don't tell him what the topic is ahead of time, so that his reactions can be organic and real and authentic. And this time, the topic is...
Drum roll. Bam, bam, and bam again.
The N-word. Yes. The topic is the N-word.
Is that right?
And should other ethnicities get to say it? Howdy, you want me to start? I think yes. I think since I'm playing Devil's Advocate, it's about time we open the floodgates and give everyone access to the N-word. I mean, hip-hop music is already doing that, so we might as well just, as a community, come together and say, we're at peace with this. And let's move on forward together. That's the GA, not G-E-R.
Right.
G-G-E-R.
Right,
G-G-A.
This is the...
G-G-Ga.
Sure. This is in the social
not
casual setting where folks can just kind of flippantly drop it wherever they feel the need to.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's
the GER word, I think we should just bury that. That should be stricken from history, and let's never talk about that. But GA, I mean, we're already here. Might as well let other people enjoy it as much as we tend to.
Was that was what you had? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I had.
Sure.
I mean,
all right. Sure. Yeah. I guess you're taking the devil's advocate position on that, because as you would imagine, I would say no. I would oppose that particular position, actually. I don't think there's one substantive quality reason why folks outside of the cultural realm of African Americans should actually use that word in any situation. I think when you really get down to it, people don't have a real understanding of what the word is, especially in today's culture where it's thrown around very flippantly. And it is quite used quite a bit in hip-hop for various reasons and various meanings. But people take that and run with it without actually understanding the weight of the word that they're using, without understanding the history of the word that they're using, without understanding that there are people's lives that have been lost as a result of this word on the other end of this word. And so for them to use it flippantly is not only...
Go on. Make sure we're speaking. Keep going.
Oh, sure. Yeah, them to use it in the way that they do is just simply ignorant and, in my opinion, disrespectful. Now, when it comes to black people using the word, I think that that's something entirely different, because culturally we're allowed, I think, to have the space to decide how and when we like to use it, and that has nothing to do with anyone else's capacity to use it. I think that is something for us to inclusively determine. And hey, guess what? If you're not black, if you're not of this culture, if you're not of this experience, then I'm sorry, there's things that you're not going to be able to take advantage of, both positive and negative, and this is going to be one of them.
What are the persons saying? Well,
and
yes.
So what I'm saying is, because we've been able to reassociate the term with different meanings in our modern day, but for those who do understand what the word means and know the history of it, it's a term for white supremacist genocide is what it really signifies.
Look at old HBCU over here putting that Howard degree to good use.
I'm just saying.
Whoa!
Did you
just hear that stream of consciousness? And he did it in that monotone, serious. I'm a well-educated black man, so I'm never gonna let my emotional side. I'm just gonna articulate my. What was that?
It's just a very clear articulation of my point on this. I've had these conversations before. I've thought about it a great deal. I've listened to other people speak on it and kind of have formulated my own opinion about it. And me personally, I made a point to almost completely take it out of my vocabulary. There may be certain situations where it may come in and, with certain people in a joking manner, but I don't really use it like I did in the past at all, because
Okay.
I feel like it's not something that I need to utilize in order to express myself, whether it be a feeling of endearment towards another person, or in the terms of a joke, or in the terms of something else. I just don't feel like it's necessary for me to utilize, especially when I think about, again, what the roots and history of the word are. It's like, why? And then when it comes to white people and other people utilizing it, when they say, "Oh, but we want to be a part of," "Oh, we want to be able to," and, "Oh, he says it," I'm like, wait a second. But why do you want to use it, though? I think that there's something to be said for the idea of being black, and certainly when we associate hip-hop culture with that, of it being just, it's cool, it's hip, it's the thing to do.
Sure.
And so saying the N-word is associated with that. And so then there's an association with saying, oh, being able to say this means that I'm a part of a certain club, or I'm in, or I'm down, and I'm this. And it's like, you can do that and kind of play with that, I guess, for the sense of entertainment, but
Sure.
you're not affected by the realities of what that life is like in the same way. And so it's kind of like trying to live on both sides simultaneously, which is
Well, look,
rather
this.
ridiculous.
I keep checking on the camera to make sure.
To make sure that we're still going, so
still
we don't
going,
lose any of this.
and B,
yeah.
we were not in focus for the very beginning part. This is what
Right.
happens when you're trying to do things very low budget. We didn't have a camera person, so
Hey.
I'm both the camera person and co-host of the show.
Slash. He's a hyphenate. He's a
Slash.
hyphenate. He has many skills. Multi-skilled man.
I'm slash artist. Is what I would like to refer to myself.
That's what he
I
says to
heard
ladies.
though. I was
Yeah.
also able to hear a lot of the stuff that you were saying, and my rebuttal to that is no one's trying to say Gur. I already said at the top, it's not about Gur. Gur has a very different historical kind of context. So it has never been used to put people down. It's been used to as more of a term of endearment than anything, and just I would say just a verb or adjective or noun, depending on whatever that word wants to be. It's a very multi-hyphenated word as well.
Sure.
So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not speaking of Gur. I think everyone will agree that Gur is only reserved for those people who are truly ignorant and truly trying to insult. But you are talking about a word that, yes, historical context is important, but after a certain amount of time, the historical importance of a word is lost on the culture that is currently using that word sometimes. So is it important to keep the history? Yes. But that a young person now using that word doesn't know of that
And
historical
that's a shame.
past.
And that's the problem.
No, it's not a
and
problem.
that is a problem.
No, that's not a problem because that word doesn't have the same thing as Gur. They know Gur. When they say that, they know what that means. Everyone, even if people don't know it, people are quick to correct them. But when you say nigga, it's like that's in music. It's like you can't tell me something so bad and then you see it all over popular culture. People are just going to be like, oh, well, if it's so bad, then why do they get to say it? Why are they saying it? It's
That's a fair question. Let me explain that to you. That's a fair question to ask, and one that can be.
So what
rather
is the
easily
ownership
explained.
on the word nigga? Why is it that only black people get to say it? And is it only just black people in America? Because if you grew up in another country, that word has no meaning to you.
I know.
So
and
should
that is
you
another look.
so
I have a friend
Africans
of mine-
should not be able to say that?
I have a friend of mine.
Jamaicans?
I have a friend of mine who traveled to Uganda. He was doing some work there, and one of the things that he said when he came back was that they were using the word, and when he actually had a conversation with them, they felt embarrassed because they didn't know what that word meant. They
Right.
didn't know the association with that word. But in the context and his ability to actually educate them on what that history is, they had to take a second and actually rethink using it because, again, it's a uniquely African American word in the sense that in the history of how it was utilized, whether you're African from an African country, you're born and raised there, you
Right.
don't have the same experience of an African American
Right.
and their experience with that word. And so, yeah, I do ascribe it the same way of like, there are words I'm sure, of course, there are words that are culturally relevant to, let's say, someone from Uganda that I may not understand. And just because my shade of skin is the same as theirs, I may not be able to use that word or have the same meaning attached to that word because I don't have the same cultural experience and same
Right.
cultural relevance
But
in the same sense.
Do you understand that the N word though there's no other word really like it. There are maybe a few words that are close, but the uniqueness about that word is that it's a part of popular culture. That's what makes it such a divisive word. It's because if you want to say, well, that word carries a lot of weight and it carries a lot of pain and a lot of history, then no one gets to use it. No one uses it. Just bury the word and say, you know what? No one uses it. And let's stop putting it in music. Let's stop putting it in movies. Let's stop putting it in conversations and just bury the word. But if you are going to use the word, if you're going to make some little exclusive club of like, no, we get to say it and nobody else gets to say it, how are you any different than anybody else that tries to create their own little exclusive clubs or thing like, well, we are in and you are out? That's what the problem is. It creates a us versus them kind of mentality, and that's what I have a problem with. It's like, it's enough of this versus them.
Are you mad when you hear another culture speaking another language? You're like, oh, I don't understand what you're saying. Don't say that. I don't understand what's being said.
No, but if I tried to speak Spanish, hold on, but if I tried to speak Spanish, no one would say, you can't speak Spanish, you're not Mexican. Or you can't speak Spanish, you're not from Spain. They'd be like, oh, cool, you're speaking our language, dope.
Okay, but if you were to say...
Got you there.
No, that's not a got me there.
Your Honor, can we please make sure? Somebody take notes on that. That's
right.
not a good one? Language?
But if you were going to take something that had, again, something... If we're going to try to equate it to something else and say, oh, a painful experience, a painful... something that touched a painful cultural touchstone, and then try to utilize that and say that, oh, I can now... basically appropriate that for my own consumption and entertainment. Yeah, that's a different thing entirely.
What are you talking about?
What am I talking about? Appropriate.
That is a whole nother devil's advocate. I will touch lightly on appropriation for two reasons. Number one, you're wearing denim, all right? And you're not a farmer. You're not a cowboy. But you're wearing denim. That is appropriation. You're appropriating cowboy culture, all right? Number two, you're wearing beads. You're not Buddhist. All right, are those not Buddha beans? Are those not like a religious thing? You're wearing. No, what are these?
I literally made.
What are these? You made these.
I literally made this.
What is this? What is the metal thing? What does this mean? What does this mean? What are hearts?
This is a heart.
You're appropriating Valentine's Day. You're not Valentine. You're not Saint Valentine. You can't do that.
That's not what we're talking about at all.
See, that's not
what cultural appropriation.
What is cultural appropriation?
Cultural appropriation. This is a separate.
This is a complete. We'll go back to that. But
no, it's fine. No. Cultural appropriation. Okay.
Please say why. Check on to make sure.
Sure. Please check. Make sure that. Make sure we're still going on this, because this is again something that's very, very important that people seem to be misguided about. Cultural appropriation is something where you are going to basically cherry pick an aspect of someone's culture that you find to be entertaining or amusing without actually taking any kind of consideration or appreciation for the whole of what that culture is. And it happens today. It's happened for many years here in this country, where it's like the cultural contributions of people of color, especially black people, they're consumed in a way that, hey, we love this stuff. We love this jazz. I'm sorry, is this boring all of a sudden? Too much real? Okay.
It's not real.
It's not. We love this stuff, but no. We love this stuff, but we don't like black people. We don't really like it. But sure, we'll rock with what you guys create. We're comfortable with that.
Okay, if we want to use the biggest infractors, if you will, I don't know if that's a technical word, but we'll say infractors of appropriation of black culture. We'll take the Kardashians. All right, you can't tell me those people don't like black people. Come on, man.
You can't tell me they don't.
Come on, they go deep for some black people. They go deep, especially for black brothers. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not sure what point you're trying to make
over here, but you're trying to say like they're taking aspects of their culture, but they don't mess with the people. They're like, we like your cornrows, but whoa, we don't want any of you guys in our family, or we don't want you guys in our house.
Or we don't actually care about issues that actually affect you and people who look like you, but yeah, we like your cornrows.
What are you talking? So because somebody wears cornrows, does that mean now they have to get on the platform and address every social injustice? Why are you not asking that of people in the black community? How many black leaders are?
Okay, so two things there.
Go ahead.
One, no, I don't demand that everybody who decides to put cornrows in their head become, on the front lines of a protest somewhere, but I don't think it's unreasonable for people to be aware of what they've adopted and to have not only a cultural sensitivity to that, but an awareness of it. If I say, yo, I'd love watching kung fu movies, you'll never hear someone say, but it's not an ancient art that was developed, let's say in China, for example, and not give it that respect.
No.
And I'm saying in correlation, for people to say, the thing about where cultural appropriation really goes sideways is when people take things and then decide that they want to act like they created it as if it was their own. And it happens all the time. It happens very, very often. And very often, it's a thing of whether it be hairstyle, whether it be a certain dance, whether it be a certain song, whether it be certain things where it's like, oh no, we just created this and came up with it. It's like, wait a second, no. But no, you didn't. And the difference being, when I was using my Chinese example, when it comes to like kung fu movies, you can enjoy kung fu movies and respect the art of what's there, but no one tries to sit up here and say that it wasn't, it didn't originate where it did, or it doesn't deserve the respect that it does. You can appreciate a culture.
Who said that about cornrows?
You can appreciate
Who stood up there and been like, cornrows are not a black thing. They are invented by white people. We invented cornrows.
I could point to, even when I go beyond cornrows, I've literally seen magazine articles and print pictures of like white girls with bantu knots, which is a West African.
I'll put a picture.
Sure.
Bantu knots.
Bantu, of like, oh, this is the new hot style, and it's like, no, this didn't just pop out of nowhere. This is a cultural tradition that's been in I believe it's West Africa where it originated for however long that it's been. And so sit here and try to pass it off is the type of appropriation that I'm talking about.
Look at the audience, look at me. Hold on right there. I'm going to pause for just 1 second while I swap batteries.
Go right ahead.
Boom. Swapping batteries. You can keep the audio will still go for the podcast. So
the podcast
they're getting exclusive behind the scenes conversation of me as I swap batteries.
As batteries get swapped,
yeah,
sure.
This is what happens when you try to do these things in the heat of the moment.
Indeed.
I wasn't prepared for...
But it doesn't stop us because we jump in anyway. But what I'm saying is that's where appropriation becomes problematic, especially when there's money attached and when people who create something aren't compensated for what they create and people are able to come and take advantage of that. That's what I'm talking about. Not even, let's say, oh, I wear this denim shirt which is influenced by, the style of a cowboy. Sure, that's fine. But what I'm talking about is if the person who decided to come up with let's say a certain musical style, they're told, oh, wait a second, we love this style, we just don't like the face of you on it. Now let's go ahead, repackage that, and go ahead and run with it as if we were the ones who originated it.
Sure, okay,
that's
you can't look at a few examples and think that every case echoes that.
It's a trend.
If you're talking about the blues, or if you're talking about jazz music, then yes, I will agree that they didn't steal that music from those people, but they definitely did not acknowledge their creation of it.
Sometimes they literally
But the thing is, you have to realize a lot of those jazz and blues were started because they were playing instruments that were created by Europeans, which are white people. Pianos, like trumpets, all those things. Why are you making that face? Why are you laughing for?
That's hilarious.
Why is that hilarious?
That's hilarious. Still in there, you're going to find... These people started creating that stuff from nothing. Literally nothing.
So they play jazz on like...
Literally, the roots of jazz and blues
they didn't use classical instruments.
Are rooted in first of all, when you talk about where these things are culturally rooted in, it all goes back to Africa and our African...
Sure.
No. I mean, directly in the sense of like the African sense of banging on a drum and creating a rhythm over a drum and putting that to music and adding different aspects to that. That's something that was just in us when we came over here. So that has nothing to do with the European innovation of a certain type of instrument. We can take anything and make it into something. So it's not a matter of that's the same thing as saying, hey, you know what? If it wasn't for words and letters, then we wouldn't have we wouldn't have
hip hop.
Exactly, sure. Even if we want to draw that far cry and
that's
say
not a far cry. The literal instruments they used to make jazz and blues are classical instruments, are they not? Do they not use pianos? Do they not use trumpets? Do they not use saxophones?
But they were creating those things. They were creating that before these instruments were there.
Right, but what I'm saying is you're saying that those tools were being used to do that thing.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, no one is saying that blues and jazz didn't originate from black culture. It's not what's being said here. But to act like it's like, oh, well, they stole that from us and that's all they're ever going to do. They're just going to keep stealing from us and stealing from us. It's like, look, man, if something is popular, you can't be surprised when people try to adopt it. Like that can't be a surprising thing. You can't just
But that's
be like,
not what I'm talking
"Oh, I'm so
about.
surprised
That's not what
that
I'm talking
this
about.
music." You're talking about appropriation. When people keep talking about, "Oh, they didn't give acknowledgement for the cornrows or the Bantu knots," I'm like, okay, who cares? Who cares that this white
You know
girl
what?
is using her hair in Bantu
I'll
knots?
tell you
I don't
what.
care. You know why? Because are we just gonna gloss over the fact that the way that natural black hair grows is not straight, and we don't say anything when black girls straighten their hair. When they straighten their hair, no one really says anything. No one gives them any grief. It's like, okay,
them any
straighten your
grief?
hair. Their hair does not grow out of their head like that, but yet they get to style their hair that way, and it's like, okay, fine.
To style there. Okay, that's gonna take us in a whole nother direction, and we're not gonna go there right
Why
now.
not?
Now,
Well,
what I'm
it was
saying
afraid
is,
of hair. I'm
look,
losing my hair, so I have no problem
no,
talking about it.
look,
so I'm not gonna
look,
have
look,
any
look,
much longer.
look,
But
black
black hair is
mo-
very hot button issue.
it is, and there are a lot of reasons for that.
Get
Now,
over it, black people. We need to come together and be like, yo.
look, my point being, when we say, again, going back to something that's popular,
Yes.
you can't be mad that they appreciate it. No, again, there's a very big difference between appreciation
Mm-hmm.
and patronizing something, being a patron of something,
Mm-hmm.
and appropriation. It's I'm not against people saying, "Oh, I appreciate this music. Oh, I'm a fan of this music. Oh, this
I
music
don't think
touches
you
me
use
and moves
patronizing
me."
in that term. I think when you use patronizing in that
That's,
context,
that's
it
why I
means like
said
you're
a
making-
patron of something.
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
said. Being a patron of something is very different, and so I don't want to
So give me an
misconstrue
example
the
of
two.
appropriation. I'm still not understanding it. Somebody wearing their hair in cornrows and being put on a picture of a magazine, that's not appropriation.
Okay,
How is that
give me some-
appropriation? Give me an example of appropriation.
Okay,
That's
what
not jazz music.
Sure. So my point being is this: there are very small micro examples, such as, let's say, Bantu knots, and then there are larger
What
examples.
about
okay,
the Bantu
okay,
knots?
okay.
Explain to me the
I'll
Bantu
explain
knots.
to you. I would
For
explain
those
to
of
you.
us who don't know about
Okay.
the Bantu knots, please.
I'll explain. So my point being is, I'm not talking about one particular instance, even though that's the example I'm using. I'm talking about a larger cultural trend that's been in place for a very, very, very long time. And there are many, many examples of that historically. And what we see now are modern examples of it. And when people call it out, it's because there's this long trend that's existed before that. Now, when I use the example of the Bantu knots, you say, oh, it's just a hairstyle. It's no big deal. Sure, but when you place it in the context of the value of the contribution of Africans to what society is as we know it today is something that's been traditionally downplayed in all aspects of society. When people think about, oh, the value of what Africans and African civilization has contributed, people are like, I don't know, maybe they live in huts, we're not sure. And it's because the narrative is that it's a place from which there isn't originality, there isn't beauty, there aren't things of value that have come out of it. And I think it's very purposeful that it's been stated that way. And so when you use an example like a hairstyle that is very African on the face of a white girl on the cover of whatever magazine that it is, and oh my gosh, this style is great and sexy and wonderful when it's on her, when it's in its unique and original form, we're not so hot about it.
What?
But when it gets a new face on it, all of a sudden it's something to be valued.
What are you talking about?
Okay.
Is it so you're upset not because the girl did her hair in cornrows, but because there's been praise for it? So if no one had said anything, if Kendall Jenner had just been on the cover of like Vogue magazine with cornrows,
because the
and no
point
one said
being-
anything, was it her being on the cover a problem? If she had just did that like that, she just did her hair like that and just walked around the world with her hair in cornrows, would that be appropriation?
You're saying if she had just
If she had just done her hair in cornrows and just went about her life and didn't say anything about it, never made a big deal about it, no one acknowledged it, is that still appropriation? Or is appropriation start with the acknowledgement that she's doing something innovative and being credited for something that she didn't really originate? Is that appropriation? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm saying that what she's doing isn't innovative, and then it also is.
But she's not claiming it is. Other people are claiming it is. She's not going on the cover saying that I have invented this hairstyle. I'm an innovator. She's just wearing her hair in a hairstyle. If other people choose to acknowledge her and give her praise
But
for
then
that,
the question is,
that's not her fault.
Why that hairstyle? What is it about that? Because there are any number of hairstyles. Why pick that
Because
hair?
she likes it.
No. But then why does she like it? Because that's the thing that we don't get to as far as, well, why would
Why
you
did
choose?
you like cornrows?
Why did I like cornrows?
Yeah, you did your hair in cornrows.
I did do my hair in cornrows.
Why'd you like
for a while.
cornrows?
It was it was 2000. It was in the early 2000s. okay?
Exactly.
It was the early 2000s.
It was a
trend.
popular hairstyle. It was a trend, and you thought it looked dope. It made
It
you look
was-
dope. You liked it. That's exactly the same argument for her. She thought it looked dope. She liked it, and that's what I'm saying. Look,
is different?
I will say if there is someone
What is
out there
different?
actively taking something, then yes, let us address that. But I feel like we are all too quick to pounce on anyone who are partaking in something where I'm like, you have to look at the person's motives. That's
sure.
why I do that.
Okay, and
look at the
you're
person's
using
motives.
Kendall Jenner?
Yeah, I don't see Kendall Jenner wearing her hair. Maybe it was Kylie. I know it was Kendall.
Look, I don't know which one it is, honestly, because
Kylie's the young hot one.
I don't know which one from which.
Holla at your boy. I'm on Black.
Which one was in the Pepsi commercial?
That's Kendall.
So who are we talking about, Kendall or the other one?
We're talking about Kylie.
Okay. I was going to say, again, that's a great example of a corporation trying to utilize her as a figurehead to take advantage of the sentiment that people have and of change, of protest, and trying to...
Oh, you're talking about the Pepsi commercial?
Yes.
Not the hairstyle. Okay.
Yes, and trying to appropriate that for the sake of, let's sell some more fucking sugar water to people.
I mean, look, man. I'm not going to say that Pepsi wasn't stupid. But the thing is, this is the funny thing. This is why I think it's funny. It's the fact that I have to, being the devil's advocate, I have to try to sit here and be like, all right, what was their intention? Yes, their intention was to hawk some sugar water. That's what their intention was. So I can't praise them for that. But I'm looking at the guy, I'm thinking about the guy who wrote that commercial. You know, the guy who was probably yo,
hey man, this is hot right now.
No, it's not even about, maybe he's like, I want to draw attention to this issue.
Which issue?
The issue of political strife, of animosity between police and peaceful protesters. It's a divisive time right now. It's like, look, there have been commercials like that. There have been campaigns like that before where people have come together and there's even that infamous picture that was publicized all over the world of the hippie girl putting the flower in the rifle of the army soldier. You know what I'm saying? It's like that picture was taken and publicized all over and was used by campaigns and was used to raise awareness. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say corporations are that benevolent because I know they're not. You know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to think of the artist that didn't. I'm trying to think about that dude in the commercial who was like, yo, mom, dad, I just came up. This is gonna be all over the world. I'm about to take care of my red, blah, blah. And that person is now being demonized.
Did you see the
with
SNL
everybody
sketch?
else? No.
They actually did a decent job because it was literally the director of the video of the commercial. He was like calling his wife excited, like, babe, we're about to kill this commercial. Like, yeah, this is what happens. This is what happens. He's like, wait, oh no, I shouldn't do this. Yeah. No? Okay, wait, maybe, let me call somebody else in that. And he calls like his black friend. And he's like, okay, so this, and he barely gets 2 words out. He's like, so just nothing at all. And then they're like, okay, we're ready for you, let's go. And he's like, oh, shit.
Right. Look, we grew up in a time where I think people are very easily triggered and a lot of people are sensitive. To take this all the way back to our original topic of the N-word.
But I think people are justifiably sensitive in a lot of ways, and I think people are being held accountable in ways that they are not accustomed to, and so in that sense, I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm being oppressed. Oh, my abilities to express myself. Oh, someone's oppressing me. It's like, no, we're actually saying, hey, you know what? You can't just say whatever the hell you feel like saying and not expect people to have something to say about it.
Right. But there's also this level of like sensitivity, I feel like. For example, yes, will you be called out for saying some dumb shit? Yes, I think that should happen. And now what's starting to happen is that whole social justice warrior arc of everyone being like, I'm easily triggered and I'm on here. There was now this, what do you call it, transgender black model that came out and said some stuff. And she lost her deal with L'Oreal Paris. You know, because she came out saying some stuff about, like, white people are all the same. They're not trying to help us in the struggle. If you're not with us, then you are against us, blah, blah, blah. I'll put the actual quote here. But it was very heated. It was very targeted at, like, yo, if you even try to help us, if you're not on our side, then you are a racist, you're a bigot. And if you try to help us, you better educate yourself on the proper way to help us because blah, blah, blah. And she just went on, and it was like she lost her contract with that. And then she went out and started trying to rally people, being like, L'Oreal Paris is this, L'Oreal Paris is that. It's like, no. You are a public figure and you said some dumb stuff. You know, they're a corporation. They're trying to protect their image, just like they've done for anyone that's come on and said anything fascist or anything feminist. You get it too. Don't think just because you black and you transgender that you are now immune to that. And that's what I'm saying. The pendulum has now swung completely the other way around. That it's like now everyone is fair game. It's like you could be a progressive and still get attacked for having views that are considered to be either too progressive or too slow in the progressive state. You know, it's like, oh, that's not progressive enough. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, did you refer to that person as him or her? No, that's zer or them. You are a bigot or you are this. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm on the same side as you. And it's like, no, you're not, because I'm standing over here and you're standing over there, so we are not on the same side. That's what I'm talking about. This sensitivity is getting out of hand, man.
Okay, now not knowing what the transgender
I'll send you some links on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
send me some links. Not
I'll
knowing
link
what
it,
their quote
maybe
was,
even.
it's difficult for me to be able to assess and comment.
Sure.
But I would say that there is certainly a culture where people are very quick to point out, I think to harp on things that may or may not be as big a deal as people think that they might be. Now, that being said, I think that there are certain things that we still have not come to a point where we're able to have a very real and honest conversation about. And if we're talking about race, that's very much one of them. We're talking about more specifically slavery and the history of slavery and the ramifications of slavery in this country. We still have never had that conversation. We still don't have the history that's taught that I think is necessary in order for us to be able to really be cool with some of this stuff. Because I'm going to tell you this, like, I might be cool, a whole lot more cool with the idea of white people saying the N-word if there wasn't a little boy in, was it New Hampshire last week, who was attempted to be lynched, literally. And he cut himself down because it was these boys or whatever he was playing with tried to lynch him. So when we're talking about these things in a very real modern day context, it's very difficult for me to say, oh yeah, it's cool white people say the N-word, when we still have not dealt with the realities of what that history affects us today.
Right. So say that then. Let's talk about that issue.
I've said that.
But that's not the. But that's what I'm saying is it's like people are trying to take one avenue, one caveat here, and say like, okay, because of this, just those kids probably didn't even say the N-word. You can't correlate people saying the N-word. Again, that's guh, not gur. You can't correlate that to them lynching somebody. It's like that's not even a you're talking about drawing conclusions earlier when you're saying like drawing points. Yeah, that's a far stretch to say that that's because we let that word slip by.
No.
We let a few people say nigga, and now they're trying to lynch people again. We back to the scary times.
I tell you what. If there was an N-word informational class that anyone who wanted to use this was required to sit down and actually
like an N-word sensitivity course.
Not even a sensitivity course, but just an informational, let's call it.
Sure.
Where you actually had to sit down and get an understanding of what the roots and history of that word were and the blood attached to that word to really give you just a sense of what you're saying. Because I think that there's a lot of truth to the fact that the 15, 16-year-old who's just saying it because he heard, Jay-Z say it, doesn't have the understanding of that. And, unfortunately, schools aren't going to sit down and teach him that in the way that he should. And so if someone wants to say that word, I think that that's a very, very basic way to start. Because I would contend that if people, I think, took time to grapple with that honestly, you'd be much less willing to say that. It'd be something that wouldn't be as freely thrown about. And
I agree, and I think piggybacking off what you're saying, if you're gonna do that, then everybody has to take that class. Everybody has to say it because there are black people who are using that word who don't know the history of that word either. We can't just say just because somebody is white, they don't understand the history of that word or they don't have access to that
Now
word.
It's different, but I'll give you that.
Oh,
it's definitely different.
Goodness.
Oh, it's different. It's definitely different.
What? No.
It's different, but I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, how is it different though? It's a different part that I don't understand. You mean
it's different because
just you're black, but you don't know anything about the word, but you black. You have every right to say it.
Because I'm gonna tell you, you know what you've survived?
What?
Being black in America. I'm dead ass serious. And if you think that's laughable, okay, sure. Okay.
I definitely think that's laughable, man.
That's real shit. We can statistically point to the fact that, for any number of reasons, it is more challenging to be black in America than it is to be white.
100%.
Okay,
look,
so that's when I say it's different.
But
I was agreeing when I was talking about, okay, yes, they should be able to take the course as well. They need to be able to have that history because there are black people who don't have that history and don't have that understanding. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying it's different.
You
and I just
like a
explained
grandparent.
why.
You just sound like a grandparent right now. Oh, baby, don't punish him. He suffered enough.
No, I just said that they would do the same thing.
Just being born black, you're black in America, so you get a pass. You don't know anything about the history, it's okay.
I just said they would have to take the fucking course too.
Good.
Didn't I say that?
Good.
I agreed with you.
Yeah.
But I just added a small caveat and saying
it's
different.
I can't leave room for the caveat.
It's different. Is it not different? Is it not different?
It's equal but different. Yes.
That doesn't even fucking make sense. Equal but different.
Separate
but equal.
Separate but equal.
Separate but equal.
Equal
See?
but different. Equal but different. Equal
No.
but different.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Equal
No.
but different.
No.
That's an acknowledgement.
No.
I'm saying they're different. Yes, I agree, but they're equal. No.
No.
Sure. All right. If you
No.
want to, yeah, fine. This is progress for him to
No.
even acknowledge that. Yes, there's a difference, but they're similar, but there's a difference. I say that's. I'm gonna put that one in the win column.
You're gonna call that one.
The
That
win
one in the
column.
win column.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's I was fighting an uphill battle. I'm sure whatever few comments we get, I am not going to be talked about favorably. And just for anyone trying to be slick and use the reference of Uncle Tom, that's not what that book is fucking about. All right, you don't even know what the book and the story is about, so you're using that wrong. You're using that all wrong. If you're trying to insult me with that, man. N-word, very decisive.
But
I'm sweating right now.
Look,
as you got more to say?
Look, I just feel like when it comes down to it,
Closing statements.
I would like us all to come to a place where we can deal with each other in a respectful manner, you know?
Okay.
And language is one of those tools in which is how we communicate with one another. And I think that if we're able to say, you know what, respectfully speaking, I'd rather you not use that term or address me in that way. We should all be able to
Sure.
respect that. Yeah, just in the same sense, you have a right to, I think, define how you want to be referred to. Now, you can't always control how you're referred to, but I think
Right.
you have a right to define that. And so I feel like in using that word, that's not something that I want someone to define me by. And especially, I can understand how someone is attempting to relate to me if we're of the same culture. Another black person uses that word to me, it's like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. Another culture says that to me, I don't know, it gets a little other, the waters get a little murkier.
But
and
hold on now. Well,
No,
I know this is your closing statement, but I will say that you're using color to talk about culture, and those are two different things.
yes, that's very true.
Somebody having the same skin tone as you doesn't
Sure.
mean they're from
They
the
have
same culture as you.
Absolutely right.
So-
That's very true. That's very true. And in this case, in this circumstance, because you're right, you can have, a person who's, I don't know, Chinese, who I might be able to sit down and relate to more than, a black person from whoever where. I don't know. Wyoming or something. I don't know.
I thought that you were actually saying like whoever where USA.
Whoever where. Yeah, shout out to whoever where, man.
Hey, all y'all out there, we don't know who
whoever
you are,
where.
but whoever where.
Hold it down on the east side of whoever where.
Or
I know
wherever
y'all gotta
where.
do- wherever where. Okay. Send me a hat from wherever where.
Yeah,
I wanna rock
wherever
that.
where.
I want to represent that. I want to represent y'all. Don't want y'all to be left out. No one's ever shouted y'all out before.
Right here, exclusive.
But my point being that, yeah, you're right. Culture and color are not necessarily on the same train all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, for me, even if it is somebody who's using it with the right intent of another color, I'm uncomfortable with it. I don't know. Like it, don't like it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm like, no.
Fair enough. My closing statement would be like, I just want uniformity. If I'm gonna say that word triggers me in a way, then I don't want anyone using it. And I'm not gonna be so quick to say. I know I'm playing the devil's advocate, but I'm not gonna be so quick to say that everybody should get to say it. Because I'll be honest, we're not there yet. I think if you are Eminem or some kind of hip hop influence, you get to say because that transition's like,
Eminem doesn't even say it though.
I know he doesn't, but it's like that's the way.
As a
I'm
respect.
like, I'm like, okay, maybe guys that like that believe in that, and if you got like a black girlfriend, maybe y'all can say it when y'all doing your kiki stuff. I'll let that slide.
Don't say that shit in public though.
Don't say it in public though, but I will let that slide more so than just anyone. The confusion comes when I've heard kids say it. Young kids that
Sure.
I know, they're saying it to one another. I've seen two white kids say it to each other. And I'm like, whoa, they really don't understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm saying then that's where I'm like, well, then the energy and the power behind that word, the girl word when it was originally created, and the go word has shown me that it's losing its effectiveness. If they can use it on each other and not use it as a derogatory term, but just use it on each other and be like, oh, to us that we're not trying to hurt anyone. We're not trying to be mean-spirited or whatever. That, to us, is more of a term of endearment or just a pop culture term. Now, I will say all the kids on Xbox and all those live gaming platforms that use it, they're definitely using GER, and they're definitely using it to fucking hurt your feelings. Y'all need to stop. Like Xbox Live, PlayStation Live. Oh my God. Have you ever played like Call of Duty or anything like that?
I mean,
anytime your boy just go like Call of Duty gameplay, and you'll just hear people drop the N-word like it's nobody's business. Matter of fact, the biggest YouTuber, Felix, the guy who's
I think I heard about this.
Yes. He just said it while he was playing. He's like, oh, that guy's such a nigger. And it was like, what? What is the context? Like, there was no context. It's like, oh, man, you said that word before.
And you were very comfortable with that.
No, 100% not. He said "gur" once again. He said "gur," and he just said it like it just whoop. It didn't even like struggle to come out. It was and he was looking for the. It was just like
bam out the gate.
First bullet in the chamber. Bow.
That's what I'm coming with.
Oh. I was like, there's no, yeah, dude. So it's funny watching him backpedal.
Oh, he had to backpedal.
Oh, he had to backpedal like a motherfucker. Yeah, he's still backpedaling. Still got backpedal. It's funny. But yeah, you gamers, y'all need to stop. The N-word is still an issue that's up in the air, but it seems that we've come closer to
I think the instructional course is a good way to begin.
It's a good way to start.
Because I think we just lack a national sense of history when it comes to what that word is attached to. And the only thing that keeps me from being like, oh, let's all just let it go and act like it's a term of it's all good now, everybody can say it, is because there are people who died at the end on the other end of that.
Right.
Who suffered on the other end of that.
For sure.
And to act as if, oh, it's cool now, I feel like does a disservice and a dishonor to that fact. So.
I feel like we just need to hold artists then accountable who use that word. They got to take the class or they got to donate to a foundation that teaches that class because they use that word so readily. And I'm talking about comedians also who use it on stage. I'm talking about all those people. It's like they are the ones making that word okay to say. They are the ones that are making it so popular that people are like, well, what's the big deal? They're doing that. And if they're going to use it, then they need to be ready to step forward like you're expecting one of the Jenner sisters to do when they're using cornrows. If you're expecting them to step forward on these issues, then I'm expecting comedians and rap artists and any entertainer that uses that word so freely to step forward sometimes and remind people of how charged of a word that is and how responsible they need to be when they're using that word. That, my friends, is Devil's Advocate, the N-word. But y'all let us know what you think, what side you're on. Were you on the side of the devil? Which is the defense or the prosecutor over here. But yeah, let us know, comments, all that kind of fun stuff. And yeah, looks like we're going to have to talk about the appropriation. Like, we're going to cut this episode and go right into that because I have some things on that. So, Devil's Advocate, let us know. Yeah. Boom! Is it still speeding? I don't know if we got the outro on here, but it's for the podcast. Got it.
It's for the podcast. Podcast has it handled.